Good morning. I'm your host, Hassan Alim, in Apartheid, Michigan, and Apartheid, Michigan. All right, we're going to get right into it. They always talking about the governor's race. We're talking about the governor's race in Michigan. The Democrats are scrambling. Well, they're still scrambling even though they picked Whitman, former state rep Whitman, to run as governor on the Democratic slate. And they're going to vote her in, I guess, in the convention. So that's one thing. The next thing is the people we need for the state reps. Very important that we get the state reps because we are having a redistricting. What is it, redistricting? Where they redraw the districts for the state reps, for the state senators, and for the U.S. congressmen from Michigan. Very, very important election coming up that we need to be all in, all hands on deck. Now, I know a lot of people want to blame the Democratic Party for everything, but we have got to participate in the election process. And it's more than just voting. Voting is the most essential part of it at the end. That's the end game, voting, to get your people in. But the other part is the planning. How do we get those people elected? How do we get our people in? Because for some reason, as Detroiters, we have a problem in getting our people elected, meaning people that are going to do something for the city of Detroit. We have a very difficult problem with that aspect of the election. 13th Congressional District Chairman Jonathan Kinlock, maybe that's what he needs to be called, Jonathan Good Luck. But Jonathan Kinlock is a problem. You're not winning under Jonathan Kinlock. We didn't win under, what was that other guy? Well, it don't look like we're going to win under Dillon unless somebody puts some fire up on his feet. And it's Brandon Dillon. I'm trying to think of got about the guy already, Ron somebody. We have forgotten about him already. See how quick it fades from memory, especially the people that don't do anything. They're not doing anything for us. So why are we jumping them down trying to remember who they are? Yeah, well, we're not. We're not. I was looking at those parking tickets. Did I have that one of them with me? One of the parking ticket was some of that suit that the young man filed. Goodwin, I think his name, Goodwin. He filed a lawsuit that was an attorney, and on the parking ticket there never was a hearing, and to raise the rate to $45, so they were really $20, and the whole thing came out with Kevin Orr. Yeah, emergency manager Kevin Orr. And he's going to say under his authority, granted in Public Act 46, which Public Act 46 is illegal. Nobody want to cite the Constitution when they challenge it. They didn't want to cite the Michigan Constitution, what parts were illegal. And look what this man says here. Whereas, what is the order to amend Chapter 55 of the Detroit City Code by the authority vested in the emergency manager for the city of Detroit, pursuant to Public Act 436 of 2012. Okay, let me see here. Whereas on March 28, 2013, Michigan Public Act 436 became effective and Kevin D. Orr became the emergency manager for the city of Detroit with all powers and duties provided. Now, he was appointed by the governor. It said that he had a contract with the governor. Oh yeah, that's what he said. So now, pursuant to Section 9.2 of Public Act 46, the EM shall act for and in place and instead of the mayor. of the Detroit mayor and the city council. Wow. Now that's illegal under the law. He can only have one job. How can he replace the mayor and still have a whole another job as emergency manager? So we just don't understand what's going on.
Got short memories too.
And the Michigan Supreme Court, the Republican Michigan Supreme Court has ruled that you can only have one job.
They did
One-
Sherman Fell like that, you remember?
Right. One public job. If they're paying you, you can't have but one of them. Sharon McPhail, when she was city council woman, McPhail could not represent Highland Park, not Highland Park, River Rouge as an
River Rouge,
attorney.
yeah.
Wasn't that, what was that Barbara, Brenda Scott?
And,
She's the one that died from that operation, wasn't she? Yeah, Brenda Scott. Brenda Scott,
Brenda Scott or
councilwoman. I'm talking about the councilwoman.
Council, yeah.
Well, she was also on Wayne State's board. She's a trustee on Wayne State board. They told her, oh, no, you can't have one, or you can only have one or the other. Take your pick, or we'll pick one for you. So she chose to stay with the city council. Now, how is it that James Craig, Chief James Craig, can hold two positions?
Legally, he can't.
Right, he's the police chief and don't know that.
Oh, that makes it even worse. He's
Yeah.
law enforcement officer and he don't know what the law is?
Yeah, well, you know.
Or he think he's have special privileges because he is a law enforcement officer and he can do what he want, huh?
Well, you know, Chief Craig has aspirations of running for mayor. He really have aspirations to be mayor of the city of Detroit. Well, he didn't tell me that, but mayor, he's been around long enough to know that police chiefs move up to be mayor all across the country. Yeah, I guess you say, well, what happened to Benny Napoleon? Benny Napoleon really didn't open his mouth. He really didn't campaign for the position. Therefore, he must have not wanted it. Now, what part of that? Is that section of the Constitution where it says that cities can amend their charter?
I think that's Article, is it
I didn't read it.
9 or
I
11?
don't know it. No, it's about 7, I think. The Article 7, Section 22, about the charters. The resolution of the city charter, under general laws, the elector of each city and village shall have the power and authority to. Good morning, good morning. I'm your host, Hassan Aline.
Co-host Carl Williams.
And we're in Apartheid, Michigan. Apartheid, Michigan. Apartheid, Detroit. What about that with the governor and Flint's Mayor Ken Weaver? Said he wasn't going to do nothing else for the city of Flint.
They ain't did nothing that is. What have they done? They ain't been made whole again.
And why don't you get over it? Woman say, she told her, why don't you get over it? That's the end of that. She said, it's time to go. This meeting is over.
Oh.
Yeah, that was Flint's Mayor Ken Weaver. I saw on one of those Sunday morning talk shows with I'm trying to think of that woman's name, but anyway, Joy. I call her Joy somebody. But anyway, the fight is still on. We don't see it as a fight, but the fight is still on. We have to keep moving every day. We got to keep pushing every day.
Dog, I need to send her a letter or something. I need to talk to her.
Well, she's been fighting all the time. The Snyder people tried to recall her, and she was reelected, so that's a good thing. And they're they are ahead on the schedule to replace the water lines. But that governor, you know, people, we've got to just wake up and realize that was an intentional poisoning of the people in Flint. And you may say, no, it wasn't intentional. but those were the consequences when they changed to the water, to the Flint River water, which they knew was polluted. Only person didn't know that was polluted water was somebody here in Detroit and half of the black folks in Flint. I know they're going to get mad at me because what took them so long to realize they were drinking polluted water with carcinogenic after or byproducts from those plants up there, DuPont and General Motors. They dumped the waste somewhere. They dumped the wastewater in the Flint River. Wow. Then they got a permit to dump the waste. Think about it. That is, DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, Michigan Department of Environmental Quality gave General Motors, DuPont, and those other companies a permit to dump in the Flint River. So why haven't the people in Flint gone and pulled the permits? Why didn't the Congresswoman, Brenda Lawrence, why didn't her staff people pull the permits to see what was being dumped in the Flint River?
Yeah. They
We
still
said it,
can
we,
do it.
yeah, they still can do
We
it.
talked about it on the program.
We've always talked about it on the program. You know, all these activists to jump around and but they don't know the procedures. They didn't know they could get permission to dump waste in the water. But Flint, the city of Flint, wasn't drinking the polluted Flint River water at that time. And even now they want to give them a contract that gives them blended water. Well, what's the blend?
That's
They want to
insane.
give them Detroit water mixed or blended with the Flint River water, the poison water.
Then when it's something happen again, then they try to say the Detroit water is bad. I see what that's all that is about.
Well, they're going to say they didn't know anything. Now, we've been saying all along it was money that they got the people in Flint, Michigan, paying for how do you pay for a water plant that you don't even own? How do they do that?
Ignorance.
Well, I'm asking the question, but we're paying for a lot of stuff here in Detroit that we don't own,
That's the same thing. Ignorance.
that we're
Not
giving
knowing-
away, huh?
Not knowing the process, not knowing what you should be eligible for and what you shouldn't be. I mean, if you don't know, you get tricked
Get tricked every time, don't we?
every time.
Every time. So we're going into an election season. I believe today is the last day for you to sign up or turn in your signatures, but you don't have to turn in signatures to be a state rep, is it? State rep,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can sign and pay the $100.
That'd be much quicker.
And even for the charter commission, nobody wants to talk about. You can sign and pay the $100. Sign up and pay the $100 to be a charter commissioner to run in your district. That would be the easiest and quickest way to get on the ballot. And I know a lot of you saying, "Well, how did we didn't know about it? That got past us. Nobody talked about it. Why? How come we didn't talk about the city charter? We talk about the charter all the time that you don't read. I know what you're saying. Well, you didn't tell us to run. Where you going to run anyway? Where you going to run? That's the whole thing. Most people don't run for the charter commission because it's not a paid position.
But it's a very important position because it decides the rules and laws that govern you. The charter is just like your constitution, but it just say like the state constitution, where your charter is your city constitution. It governs you.
Well,
But most people don't talk about it.
and why do you want to confuse them, Carlin?
Oh,
Yeah,
is that confusing?
yeah. All you have to
Okay.
do is say that's the Bible of the city. You understand the Bible got all the laws and rules in it, don't it?
They don't even read that.
Well, you don't have to. Somebody tell them about it every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. You know, all through the week, some program is on, and they telling them what they feel about it anyway, about the religious books and what's going on out here in the real world. And it's amazing. It's amazing that folks are talking about what happened at the Democratic Committee, or convention rather, last week, and last Sunday at the Democratic Convention, when all we want the folks to do, all we want the white folks to do, is to say, here are the people we have picked for you. And since, because we haven't picked anybody ourselves, that's the question, isn't it? Who have we picked to represent us? Really, which activists, which bootlicker, well, we won't, do we pick the bootlickers? No, we don't select them. Somebody selects them for us. Somebody, you know, they say, well, this person, and they're real good for us because they work for the Kellogg's Foundation or the Kresge's Foundation. And so those people took over the school system. Or, you know, you said something earlier, Carl, we don't know the process of the elections. We don't know anything about elections. And who was that said, one of the hosts, former hosts, he's deceased now, I'm trying to think of his name, but he says that politics is not for amateurs. So this is amateur hour. We're getting ready for amateur hour. We're trying to pick somebody. No, we wanted to say, who is that person? I remember the rhetoric we heard from when Shower, Democratic candidate, ran against Gangster Snyder the last time. So Mark Shower people were saying, well, who is he? Where is he from? We don't know Mark Shower. But then again, you don't know anybody. So what's the difference? And who did they have in Mark Shower's place? Who was going to run in place of Mark Shower? So you had a lot of black folks coming up with that hooey about we don't know the man. How was he coming in here? And well, he was from Michigan, that's for sure.
They didn't know Snyder neither.
No, they didn't know him. But they fell out, or they fell in love with him, so-called lovers, because he campaigned as a nerd.
Something different, that's all. So I guess they say anything that's different than what we've been getting, so it got to be better. They sure got food, didn't they?
Something different. He was a racist white boy, wasn't he? A racist white man from Ann Arbor. What was so different about that?
Well,
Michigan racist? Oh, they didn't know it. Oh, okay.
You know, they figured because they talk about he was a businessman and he owned them computer company and all like that. They said, oh, well, he don't sound like the rest of them.
Well, they didn't check him out. He was
No, they didn't.
Gateway Computer was an up-and-going company until Gangster Snyder took over. He got in charge, run it into the ground, and looted the pension fund and sold it off to the Chinese. I bet he gets a pension out of Gateway.
Mm-hmm. Now, see, that's the part they never did say anything. They never did say anything about the pension fund. But
So-
we know that's what's happened.
Oh, yeah, they got a pension fund looted. And so when he got to be governor of the state of Michigan, that's the first thing he went after, wasn't it?
That's right.
He started talking about the pension fund. He taxed the senior citizens that were on
Yeah.
a pension. Oh, yeah, he said, well, you know what, we want your pension. We need money. Don't want you to have anything, but the man just that greedy. And he turns around and say he didn't know anything about Flint. He didn't know anything about the
Oh,
Flint
man,
water.
gonna
You
lie.
know, it was, you know, Carl, we were trying to, we should have came on the air and talked about, well, we did talk about it, but we should have got other people to try to pull that website down a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, during the Flint water crisis when it broke. What would that be, back in 15, 14, and 2015 or 16, when Snyder was making a speech and he says, and they were talking about problem with the Flint water, and he said, well, and he was saying lead, the problem with the lead in the water, and the man made the comment, well, the people in Flint don't have any sense anyway. They're not known for having any sense. Now, we tried to get that to where we could put it on the show. We could never pull it down here in the studio. So,
Yeah, I almost forgot about that. He
No.
made that statement.
oh yeah, well, he made it, but see, we should have tried to get the folks here to pull it down, or in the audience. Somebody would have pulled it down. At least they would have saw it and seen what he said. And we had to knew how important that was,
Oh, yeah.
because that was the lie that's supposed to be keeping him out of jail from going to court. He didn't know anything about the Flint water. That the lead was in the Flint water, which was nothing but a lie.
Yeah, he knew about it because he gave the preachers a bribe, told them, I'm going to give you the bottled water, but don't give it to nobody else.
Yeah.
So he must have known something.
Oh, the man knew about it. The man knew about it. That's just a fact. We know that he knew about it. And they had how many, 40 or 50 different meetings, and from 214 around 15, all over the Flint area. The Kiwanis Club and the Rotary Clubs and what other club? All those names we barely recognize and rarely hear. Kiwanis Club, Rotary. Are you part of that? Do you go to those club meetings? You know, so he was around there telling them why they should invest in him and invest in this Carigani water supply, and how it would be so great for them in that region. But look at Flint. They're burdened with taxes on this Carigani Water Authority that they don't own. Well, how's Flint paying the most money? Paying all the taxes, and they don't own the system. Then they pay twice because they pay as a resident of Flint, and Flint is in the county of Genesee, so they pay the county taxes for it, or the county portion.
Yeah, that's what they ought to be hollering about.
Well, Carl, what do we holler about in the city of Detroit that we giving away? Did anybody holler about giving away all that money to Illich? And are they hollering about the Dan Gilbert giveaway? No. This man wants the taxes that violates the Constitution. Only cities can levy taxes. Cities, townships, villages, counties,
Yeah.
public entities where you have people to vote. They're the only ones can levy taxes. It's in the Michigan Constitution. So these people are just gangsters. Want to take your money. And then what about the mayor, Livonia Mike? He's saying now he wants to track down people in apartment buildings to get them to pay the taxes when pay the city income taxes. When all those companies are supposed to be filing taxes of their employees. Are they supposed to be sending the name of their employees? I believe it's the Labor Department, State Labor Department.
Yeah.
It's either the State Treasury, but I believe it's the Labor Department. Anybody that works in the state of Michigan, if it's a business in the state of Michigan, they have to send a monthly or quarterly report to the State Labor Department. I believe that's the right department. They might have changed the name by now, since then.
But we know they're supposed to turn it into some agency of the government.
Right, they're here in the state. See, the folks that was on the welfare, you always wanted, you didn't know how they tracked you down. That's why they tracked you down. So, but they sit around and tell us, well, we don't know, we can't find out who owes us taxes. Isn't that when that Dave Beans line? We don't know. We got all these bums out here and tax sheets, and they don't want to give the city their money. Wow. But they have to comply with the law. Most of them, 90% of the business, do comply with the law. So why is he harassing somebody that lives in an apartment building? Well, because most of the business owners of those apartments don't know to tell him to go fly a kite that follow the law. But if they said that, then the cat would be out the bag because he's not collecting his own taxes in the city of Detroit from the business people downtown.
Oh, no, he don't say nothing about them, do he?
No.
They should have been the first people he went after since they owe more.
the illagers, the football players, the basketball players that come into town that don't pay any income taxes to the city of Detroit? How do they get away with that? The mayor lets them. So, they were complaining about this Harvard speech, what he should have said when he went, which the mayor should have said when he went to Harvard. Looked like he was probably telling them how he kept the wool over the black folks' eyes in the city of Detroit. And those are some of the wool over your eyes that we're discussing now. How is it that he says, well, we're doing a great job in the city, so we're going to make some of these apartment owners, these landlords that own these buildings downtown, give us the name of their tenants so we can see if they work in the city of Detroit. I thought it was a law against the right to privacy.
It is.
Huh?
Yes, it is. The privacy law still in existence.
And so you just say, I want everybody that has tenants in the city of Detroit, that lives in those buildings in the city of Detroit, to turn over their name so we can see if they're working and they're not paying their city of Detroit taxes.
Yeah, it's just like what you said. That's all the landlords got to say, well, that's not my job, That's not my responsibility. If you want the money, well, then you do it. That's not my responsibility.
The city of Detroit had employees that did that, believe it or not.
They
went,
Huh? Yeah, they did.
They went down and they checked, they were in the licensing department. You get a permit for a business. They had licensed investigators. I believe that was the title back then. It was a licensed investigator, and they went out to the stores and the businesses in the city of Detroit to see if you had a license to be in business.
I know they used to come on some of the construction sites where we were working, and they would be checking your ID to see where you live and everything, and see if you had paid up your taxes.
That was human resources, wasn't it?
I think it was
That
called
was
human
to
resources.
see if
back
they had
then.
enough
Yeah.
minorities on the job back then. And if you worked in the city of Detroit, lived in the city of Detroit, rather, that's what that was all about. They might have tried to scare you about that tax stuff. They wasn't the IRS.
Well, I know they wasn't, but people was kind of scary, and they did do that, to shake some people up, because you didn't know. I didn't know back then.
Yeah. Cities had that human rights division. And who was that? Diane Bukowski, the lady that writes up for that newspaper.
Oh, you talking about the Voice?
Voice of Detroit. She was one of their investigators back in the day. We think of what else. They had an article in the paper where Donald Trump, President Trump, has, signed an executive order to reinstate the local communities across the country, the police department, sheriff department across the country to get this military hardware equipment. And folks don't believe they coming after us. That is so ridiculous.
Sure.
They don't believe we coming after us. And I believe it's a meeting. I called.
People better wake up. There have been no riots. There have been no civil disobedience. Hasn't been none of that. So you have to ask the question, why is he putting all this military weaponry around all these major cities?
Because they coming after us because they're going to incite the riots.
Oh, yeah. Just like they did before. And although a lot of people don't believe that, but they did.
Yeah, they always get some provocateurs to get out here and do their thing and shake things up.
Because I know when we discussed it and you was talking about what happened on the west side and I was talking about what happened on the east side, it was clearly evident that it was staged.
Well, it's evident to some people. They talking about the 67 riot, but no, it's not evident to everybody. That's the fact of life. But somebody, with that Tawana Morris and a lady there with her, were talking about incarceration of young black men and how her son the lady's son was in prison. And I believe the meeting is going to be this Saturday at the Davo Center on Wyoming and Grand River. The time now, it's 5 to 8. I believe it's 5 to 8. So a lot of people should come out to find out what's going on and what problems that they had, her son has had. But I find it interesting that some kind of way, they didn't say everything, but some kind of way, in order for him to get, I don't know if it was a less sentence or what, they had to plead guilty. Plea bargain.
Plea bargain, yeah.
And more than likely, they got that felony on there that they can't erase because they always give them, if you plea bargain, you get those 2. And you're only supposed to have 1, so the prosecutor's office makes sure they put you down for 2. Makes it more difficult to get the felony removed for your record. But we're coming up. But see, here's the whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, that we've been saying for the longest, and we're going to continue to say it about this marijuana vote that's coming up. It's going to affect our community. It's going to affect young black men and women across Michigan, not just in Detroit, but as Muskegon, Saginaw, Benton Harbor, all across Michigan, Flint, all across the state of Michigan, black folks are going to be targeted because marijuana is still against the federal law and they're sending the federal troops in, and that's what all these guns are for, these federal task force that are around the city that we don't know about. They're talking about the rape kits over the weekend.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that.
You know, and here's the whole thing, ladies and gentlemen. The Detroit Police Department was no different than any other police department in America. They wanted that federal money. So in the process of stopping people for traffic violations, they were looking for drugs. They were looking for, well, that's what it was. And they said, what we're going to do, we're going to stop everybody for traffic violations. And so they wanted the drug money.
Yeah, you know, and that's is something that need to be challenged, because most of the time if they won't say they're looking for drugs. But that you are absolutely right, because I know when they stopped me, I didn't think at the time, but later on I wrote a request and I asked him where was the probable cause, where he didn't really have any probable cause.
Well, they don't need any. You know, they
according to the law, they need it.
Oh, but not them. I don't think James Craig ever talk about the probable cause. He makes it up, don't he? Police
He
Chief
just
Craig,
make up stuff as he go.
on the probable cause.
Yeah, but they're supposed to have probable cause. They ain't just supposed to stop you. So I just put down that the man was racial profiling.
Well, that's what they call it. But see, we didn't know until that book, The New Jim Crow, came out, that it was a federal program that gave the cities the money, and that they induced them or they enticed them to more or less prevent. They stopped testing rape kits. They stopped homicide and burglary investigation. All that stuff went down because they were so busy making the money that the government was giving them for looking for drug pushers. And so when you would stop going to church on Sunday, they put you down as a drug pusher. That's why they stopped you in your car. 7 days a week, it don't matter, 24/7. That's what they're doing. They get the money. Now, so President Trump is going to put this same program back into effect because it's going to be election time in a few years, isn't it?
Yeah.
1 or 2 years he's going to be running again, and he's going to go with the Southern strategy of law and order. That's how we got in the first time. We don't understand what they're saying. We don't understand the cold words. When they're giving the police all this money, and you know what, I left the book, but I read it the last week or the week before, how the police officers were trained what to say when they stopped you for a traffic ticket. Now think about it. All of these police chiefs and commissioners across the country are saying the same thing. You didn't know that they have a script
Oh, yeah.
when they go to the meetings, that the federal government was telling them what to say. DEA, yeah, the drug department. Did you think it's overseas somewhere? No, they right here in America telling the police officers what to say, what lie to tell, or what. You know, if the police lie to you, it's not a crime. Isn't that something? That's something most of us don't know. If the police lie, it's not a crime. If the FBI tell you a lie, it's not a crime. But if you say something, it could be a misstatement. It don't have to be an out-and-out lie. They'll say, oh, you're guilty of lying to the police, to the FBI. And that's what they charged the guy with?
Yeah, that's
One of those
true.
guys, did they say the FBI have indicted and charged with a crime of lying to the FBI in the Donald Trump thing or the Russian investigation? So we need to know those things.
And we need to challenge them on it because it's a violation of your constitutional right, equal protection of the law. But nobody's never said that.
But why is it when people get locked up by the police, they never ask for a lawyer? At least not on television. At least not on television. And I think the black folks here don't ask for a lawyer until they get to court.
And then most of the time they done already set you up because you done ran your mouth.
Yeah.
So that's why they tell you to shut up, don't say nothing.
Well, let's take some calls here. Some people have been waiting quite a while. Caller, you on the line.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Good morning. The Washington is back on the clock.
All
I know
right.
y'all miss me.
Okay.
But through all that talking y'all just did, I'm going to tell y'all what the real problem is. The media. The media. Believe it or not.
It's the
I
propaganda
notice a lot of
machine.
stuff is quiet out here. But yeah, I blame the media for perpetuating all this stuff that's going on. But if you notice, you don't hear them talking as much as they was last year.
The media talk every day. If you cut it on, cut your television
my
on the
point.
news.
You don't hear them now because they relaxed. But see, another thing they didn't talk about, and they've been talking about this Rizzo case lately. I don't see how Duggan's name got up out of that because he was right in the middle of that Rizzo stuff when they first started here in the city. Y'all notice y'all don't see any Rizzo red trucks, they green. So who switched the names? Who's getting those millions now? Ain't nobody talking about that.
Not only that, why are they allowing these people to pick up the garbage and somebody's crooked or being bribed, or we know they have bribed the people because he said it.
Exactly. So if he bribed those people out there in Macomb, Detroit was for Macomb. He had to come here. So what about the officials that was bribed here? You ain't heard one name. They shut their mouth so quick and switched on Macomb County. That's all you heard them talking about with that demolition. But if y'all remember, Duggan was standing next to Rizzo before all this stuff started. Before they were out in Macomb County, they was here. It started here. You know, when he was doing his little corrupt write-in. Yeah, all that was going on then. But see, they had so many distractions to society, they could pick whichever topic they wanted to talk about daily, and they had a whole society focused on that one topic. In other words, they got them focused on the left hand, but they don't see what's going on with the right hand.
All right, appreciate it.
But hey, on that note, keep up the good work, man. Get us back talking out here. Y'all have a good day. The Watchman.
You too now. Caller, you on the air. Hello.
Good morning, brothers.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, you hit the nail on the head, man, when you said that they try to excite a riot. They really don't know what the formula is to get it started. You know, but when I look at these shootings, these people who got their hands in the air, all stretched out, still getting their brains blown out, they trying to find out just what would it take to get it started. And so I think that's what I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that's something we need to look at real close, because we can't fall into that trap again. Because once they get us out of the street, they can take us somewhere else, and we don't want that. We got other business we need to be handling. Well, let me ask you guys a question, man. If the clerk office election was canceled, if the mayor's election was canceled, if the people on the city council was elected, and you got Schumer not doing anything, and Slider with his emergency manager, his attitude, all of that is all in the same mix. What else? What can be done? And thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making it here. Well, I don't know. The clerks seem to be getting a bad rap now. Janice Winfrey, the clerk seems to be getting beat up on by everybody. They know somebody stole the election, and I think it's very interesting that they had to go all the way to Russia to find somebody to steal the election here in Michigan when it was Hillary Clinton running for office. When it was a presidential election, they said, well, it was the Russians. But come to find out, the Russians was on Facebook. Come to find out, the Russians paid Facebook for the ads and whatever they put on Facebook. There's no complicity with Facebook. They didn't have anything to do with it. Hillary Clinton paid for the dossier against Trump or somebody. Then the dossier was turned over to the Republicans. So it was a lot of back and forth chicanery going on. And it's, you know, ladies and gentlemen, we know for a fact, because we talk about it, we know for a fact that the 13th district, the 14th district, Jonathan Kinlock, chairman of the 13th district, didn't do anything to get the people out. When they closed it down for the summer, said we going on vacation, we going fishing. That's the craziest thing in the world. How are you going to go fishing and on vacation during the primary season?
Because he's a plant. He's there to defeat what he's doing just the opposite. Because you never hear him talking about voting. You never hear him talking about get the vote out. You never hear him talk about the importance of voting. So they put somebody there that's not going to do anything. That's why he appointed to all these different committees. You got two guys that are appointed to 5 or 6 different committees. Davis, he's appointed to 5 or 6, I don't know how many committees in there, and I'm just going, and unless you put pressure on him, he ain't going to do anything.
Well, we're talking about Jonathan Kinlock right now, since he's part and parcel of the problem in the 13th district. Hey, you know, it's strange, ladies and gentlemen. They're telling us, as one of the guys, one of the callers just talking about the media, and how through the propaganda, they're telling us who we should vote for, whether or not we should vote for the Democrats or the Republicans. And they said, we've been loyal Democrats, and what have they done for us? The question is, what have we asked for? What have we demanded from the Democrats? And why didn't we do James Brown? Open up the door and I get it myself. Oh, you don't want to get anything for yourself. The only Democrat that we can point to was former Mayor Coleman Young that got jobs for black folks, for minority folks in the city of Detroit. Put them on the police department. And there's still some still here. That's who hired them. They got hired mainly under Coleman Young. That's how they got to be in those command positions under Coleman Young. I know they're going to say they did it all by themselves, but nobody does anything by themselves. We didn't even come in this world by ourselves. It took our mother and father to push us here. So what's wrong with us? But that's the arrogance of people, you know. And so, as a community, what are we demanding?
Nothing.
Oh, wow.
See, it's just like all them jobs that we was talking about, Rizzo and stuff. All them used to be city jobs.
Right. So they want to go outside employment. Well, that's what you get when you bring in a suburbanite, Livonia Mike. And then they're going to sit here and argue about whether he was here a day or two before the deadline.
Who cares?
You know, I mean, but this was the discussion, right? And then we want to know what's happening, why we don't have the jobs in the city anymore. It's a big discussion about how Detroit is the poorest city, major city in the country. Well, we are poor because we give away our jobs. Chicago, with all the shooting that goes on in Chicago, they don't give away any city jobs. Them folks, them white folks still live in Chicago. And they still have those good city jobs. Wow. Wow, I didn't know that. I
Maybe.
guess you didn't.
You just said something.
What about New York City? They don't. There's a bunch of white folks living in the city of New York.
You said white folks.
Well, they got the job. We
Yeah,
the only
I'm talking
crazy
about-
people.
Yeah, that's what
But
I'm
we
saying.
the
I'm
only
talking about black
crazy
folks
people.
here.
That's what we talking about. Why are you so poor in the city of Detroit? Because you gave away your job. You would go out. Well, I think everything ought to be different. We need the right mayor, right? You mean white? See the cinematics they put on us? The right mayor. We need a Coleman Young type mayor. That's the right mayor for us, not Livonia Mike. Most prejudiced city in the state of Michigan, Livonia.
Livonia, that's where he come from. You think he's not prejudiced? Yeah, okay.
Well, the first thing he did was get in here and give away the jobs. You don't have any job. Change a boy, this is, oh man, I'm going to take some calls. I'll be there saying something. Give away a free program, a grant where you don't have to take money and make it a loan where you don't even qualify.
Yeah.
Now you don't even qualify for the loan because you don't make enough money. That's what he did for you. Mm-hmm. That's what he did for the people of the city of Detroit, but he's here to help us. And, you know, it's just like they're talking about these flowers. They want to plant all these flowers over the city. And they used to have tulips. But don't tulips, once you plant them, they come up annually? Isn't that an annual plant that comes up by itself every year?
I thought it was.
So they come up with some daffodils. Well, they come up with a different plant. They pull the tulips up, and they put some daffodils or something out there. They look pretty, but guess what? Somebody got to plant them. Mm-hmm. Some white folks getting a job now for planting the flowers that these preachers say that the blacks are too illiterate to plant. They dig a hole in the ground and put some dirt around the flowers and seeds. Isn't that crazy? That's what they say about us. That we can't handle a broom. That we can't handle a shovel. And they know, but you know, that's kind of crazy. That's all they did growing up. That's all they would let their parents do. And they know it, so now they criticizing us because they got a church and they don't have to go out and work every day. They call that work. I'm preaching on Sunday. Jumping up and down. Oh, yeah.
That's how he make his money. Yeah, you can say that.
They working. They working us. That's what it is. They working us.
They definitely working us.
You on the air, caller. Go right ahead. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Well, call us back. Call us back.
Yes.
Well, go.
Come on.
No, I hit the button. I heard this thing was going off. Call us back, caller. Caller, you on the line. Hello?
On air.
Can you hear? You on the line, caller?
Hello?
Yes,
You
go
on
ahead.
air.
Yeah, I'm calling. I'm calling about I'm calling about the sentencing of Rizzo yesterday.
Okay, go right ahead. Give us your spiel on it.
Yeah, yesterday he got 5.5 years for all the corruption that he did, but Kwame got 28 years for the same thing.
Well, Kwame wasn't a white man, but go ahead.
Well, that shows you that for black people, religion don't work, voting don't work.
Well, the voting does work because
And the law doesn't work for us.
You don't know how to use it. That's why it don't work.
we don't use the law.
Just because something out there and you attempt to use it, you got to know how to use it.
use the law. When you look at a man that gets 28 years, he had some of the best lawyers around.
No, he didn't.
You know, the man had some of the worst lawyers around, some of the double agents for a lawyer, and I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and look, Kwame's friends, the so-called friends that the mayor had when he was mayor, they all ran away from him. You say the law doesn't work? We have got
the law doesn't work. When you look at a situation where the FBI comes in and you tell your guy you could go home tonight if you turn on your friend, that's the way they flip them. They always flipping people like that. But when Rizzo was out there, they allowed him to sell his company, reap the profits. They didn't get him for RICO, and you're talking about the best law. The law does not work for us. Look at that cop that beat that guy up there at the Myers store. He hit the man all in the mouth with 50 people watching him. The judge gave him 1 year probation. You explain to me how the law works for us. How does religion work for us when every one of these preachers sell us out? None of them stay in the city. They drive in, drive out preachers with drive in, drive out congregations, but they're the ones that sit on committees and sell us out. So how does religion work for us?
Well, the religion works for them. It's to their benefit. You know, if somebody telling you something that don't work and we don't have enough sense to leave it alone, that's on us. You know, how you going to blame the preacher? Well, the preacher's lying. You can blame him for lying. You can blame him for not telling the truth and being a hypocrite. You can go through all of that. But, you know, the guy that look, here's the thing. Until we put our people in there as judges, the judge is going along with the people who puts him in there. The judges have to support the police. They don't have to support the police, but they feel like they have to support the police because if they don't support the police, then the police is not going to act erratic on their behalf. See, somebody tells the police to sick them. They just like guard dogs.
Well, let me just say this. When you talk about that voting works for us, voting doesn't work for us. When we look at our man got 55,000 write-in votes. Now, we know that was a lie, but there was absolutely nothing that you could do about it. And you sat on TV and said that voting works for us. It doesn't.
No.
They know. Then they say Detroit is the most illiterate city in the world, but 55,000 people could spell Duggan correctly. But all them preachers got behind them because they all got some grits, some bacon, and some sausage. So they all got behind him. One of them even said, when we had the emergency manager, take the vote from them. They're too illiterate to know what's going on.
Well,
He's got one of the biggest churches around and sits on every committee.
Well, they get paid to say that.
But see, you confusing vote with the system. Those are two separate things. The voting had nothing to do with the write-in campaigns. That was part of the system. So you're confusing the two.
Well,
The voting, that's all that do. It gives you the right to choose the people to represent you, which that's a problem. It's not the voting, it's the people that we putting in there that's supposed to be representing us. And we'll blame it on the vote. No, it's not the vote, it's the people that you voting for.
We're going to the vote on people. The selection has already been made. At that Democratic convention last week, when you went down there, it was just for show. They already had their candidates picked. One black candidate picked to do nothing. Bill Cobbs didn't even get a call. The guy running for state, Mills, he didn't get a call. It was 3 women.
Yeah, well, I can believe that.
Well, we're going to have to talk about that some more next week. We appreciate it. We appreciate we're running
All
down
right,
on
I'll
time.
see you over at Hood.
Yeah, 'cause they should have
Okay.
filed a complaint against him.
All right, we'll be looking for you over there at Hood Research, my man. Caller, you on the air? Hello?
You on the air?
Come on, they hung up. Caller, you on the air?
Hello, happy Tuesday to both of you.
Oh, happy Tuesday to you. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm glad that you were explaining value and importance of voting itself. You know, we have to get people to understand that's where their power is. Also, they need to know, as it relates to the police department, we need to encourage our young people to join the police department. We do have in some of the schools police cadets, and that's where they can begin to learn the purpose for the police department that we have. What's going on now through attrition is the African American police are getting towards retirement, which means that the police department is getting wider and wider and wider. And we will end up with more cops in the city of Detroit who they act like the officers in these other cities, shooting our young black men in the back. And we don't need that, don't want that, and so we need to become proactive to make a difference. Also, over at the convenience store at 16400 West 7th Mile on the corner of Asbury Park, people are going to that because you had spoken about the Charter Commission and being able to change the process. They're gathering signatures there for the community, and they'll be there till 3 o'clock because today is the deadline when people have to turn in all petitions. And lastly, this coming Thursday, the relaxing at Bert's Jazz Room was so nice, we're going to do it twice. This coming Thursday, we'll be there at 8 o'clock. They have entertainment, starts at 8:30. It's a chance to socialize. We have so much stress in this city that you got to take time out just to relax, socialize. So that's 8 o'clock this Thursday down at Bert's Easter Market.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Caller, go right ahead. We're down on time.
Good morning, Carl and Hassan.
Good morning. How are
I'm
you?
trying to get some clarity on something, a question I tried to ask Tom Barrow last week when he was on Hood Research. I heard someone say that we have to define our enemies. It occurred to me our government, municipalities, corporations, I know that the corporations have private corporations have an impact in the political arena, but our government, like the city of Detroit, are they corporations? In that case, we would only have the people versus the corporation, even whether it's private or public corporation.
Government,
I don't know if you can answer that.
They are the government. City of Detroit is a public corporation. And
So we really only have the government and corporations as one entity, and then the people as the other.
say that again. The government was what, and the people was who?
The government and the corporations are one entity, even though they're private and public, and the people are a second entity in defining who is the enemy.
Well, governments are run by the people. Look, people in, let's say, billionaires, Donald Trump, the DeVosses, they run for public office, or they want a public office so they can influence the government. See, that's the part we're missing. Those are people. Donald Trump is a person that ran for public office so that he can influence the direction that the government would go. And that's what we need to do when we get in the government
So he
position.
came from a private corporation to a public corporation.
Well, he had his own company. He was a person that had his own company. It wasn't like he was a corporation. He made a corporation. And
So that's a private corporation.
And now he wants to, well, he is influencing the direction that the government is going as president. Thank you. We're going to take this last call. Appreciate it. Call us earlier. Next time. Caller, you on the air. You the last call. Well, they stopped. Okay. Hung up. I guess they just wanted to listen to what we had to say. It's very interesting that we're going. Here's somebody calling. Caller, you're on. Hello? Okay, that's the same one. So, they can call back. We're not going to answer the line. There's some confusion. There's always been confusion with black folks about the government. The government, and Donald Trump is about the best example. Everybody knows Trumpsky, and the president. He had his own company, he had billions, he had his own jet plane, 747, flying all over the country and around the world in it. Now, he wanted to influence the direction that the government is going. He felt like there's too many, what do you call them? I ain't gonna get into that. It's too late in the program. But some of the people, he said there were too many SOBs, right? Mm-hmm. And referring to the black folks on the football or the basketball team, these different players. And so when he said it, then who else said it but the head of the state police, the lady, the woman that's in charge of the Michigan State Police. See how he has influenced what people want to say publicly now on their Facebook page and Twitter page? Something that they didn't want to say. They wanted to keep it in the closet, but they feel comfortable saying it.
Yeah,
Head of the state police. Say it now. Huh? Oh, yeah. So this is what they want to do. They want to take over parts of the government and push it the way they want to go. If you say, well, they trying to put us back in slavery. Yes. Now, what are you doing to prevent it from going back into slavery? What are you doing to keep your job? And you're voting for suburbanites to come in here and give their jobs to the people of Livonia. He sent the fire department out there. The police go out to the fire department out there in Mary Grove College now, Detroit, when they got their own training center and been had one.
People just come here to get trained.
Yeah. So this kind of thing that's going on, and we say our vote don't count. Number one, we don't vote in the larger number that we should be voting in, and then we're voting for the wrong people because we think somehow these business people are going to help us. No, they're going to help their bottom line, which is business, to make money. Okay, I'm your host, Tassan Aline.
Co-host Carl Williams.
And we're going to be here next Tuesday. Call us early, get informed, and bring us some news, and get in line to vote and to register to vote, and to jump up and down and push it in the direction that we think it should go. And until next week, peace.